So, did the fun police just strike again in Diablo 4? Yesterday, we've got a ton of information and changes for the upcoming Season 9, which starts next week. But one line of the patch notes here, or multiple lines of the patch notes in particular, have the community and myself concerned. I initially didn't even see this, just like probably many of you as well, guys. There are some changes to the season theme. One thing here is the Bloody Charm Propulsion. You might have seen these crazy cool teleport builds possible on all classes with the Mana Blast that you could reset with successful executions. That's completely gone apparently, and all that is left is movement speed, which we really don't need because we have a cap in the game. And then there's also the Gizmo effect that also got big nerf here. This was basically the one that was able to damage enemies based on the dots that you had. So there's a ton of this stuff that is actually nerfing our power. And in my opinion, you know, making the season theme a little less or quite less exciting. I want to show you here what this like mana blast looked like in action. So this was possible on every class. Believe it or not, guys, this is a necromancer speed farming in very low tier. This wasn't even like, you know, crazy like game breaking or like super strong. It was just like a nice fun way to really combine the season theme into something really strong, where you're basically, you know, teleporting, dashing around with this propulsion effect, creating a big explosion, and then resetting this only in very, like, you know, easy content in very low tier to basically have infinite cooldown with this. But this was not something that was particularly strong or used for pushing. This just gave classes that didn't really have a mobility skill, such as the Necromancer, you know, a cool way to speed farm Torment 4, and like, you know, you see me doing here a pit 55. So it wasn't even like all too crazy. And you know, guys, overall I think it's great to see if the season powers like truly change your playstyle, change the way your character plays, rather than just giving, you know, just a simple damage modifier basically. I don't really like to see these changes. So this was the combination here. We had the floaty bubble, which basically blinks you to the center, and then the bloody charm, which basically whenever you execute an enemy, it would reset it. And that's completely gone. And again, this was possible on all classes. Like you could also see this, see me here, you know, on a flame up using this mechanic. I'm really hoping on Friday, you know, with the campfire to see some more love for the basic skills. But you see, like this was basically working on all the classes. Even the Druids, man, believe it or not, guys, even the Druids could have some decent speed with this change. And I just don't really, you know, like to see this being changed. And I would just really like to see like the philosophy behind these changes, because I think the season theme overall, with like the different like Horadric spellcrafts and you building your skill, is pretty cool. But it has not a crazy effect of the game. They did some buffs to some minor things with the season notes, but that's not really too crazy. And I really feel like these, you know, unique playstyles, like, I really wish they would have a place in the game to stay and to actually have, you know, some build defining mechanic, like just for a season or so it can be like, you know, fresh. And they also mentioned, you know, the meta shakeup, which probably we'll learn on Friday, where they said like they want, you know, new and different builds in the meta every season. And this would not even be like a high pit meta. Like you see, this is just a 55. It's only doing a couple million, maybe a couple billion damage, which is not crazy in nowadays Diablo 4 standards. So I would just really like to see, like, you know, like the philosophy behind these changes. And I must say, I was really looking forward to be, you know, playing this build. And yeah, especially like some of the like slower classes, I believe as well. And you can see me like, this is like Flicker Strike, like PoE like that builds that we have, and that can be, I think, a ton of fun and a cool new playstyle, rather than just, you know, playing Earthquakes again. So I'm very sad to see this go for all the classes. We'll see, you know, what they say or talk about here on a Friday with the campfire chat. And then also the Gizmo Power here also got a big change. This was the one that was basically consuming the dots. Like obviously this was bugged. It was producing infinite damage, so they had to do some changes to this. But now, in my opinion, it feels like a bit dumbed down, you know. It just says damage from a catalyst has a 50% chance to deal physical damage. that's basically it. You can also like, you know, double it. But before, it was actually consuming, you know, your dots. And there was also another, you know, a cool interaction where you could basically increase your dots, like similar to like a stricken with one of the new Horadric jewels. So I think there was like a very cool, you know, combination possibility. And people, you might argue like this footage here, like it might look like a bit broken, it might look a bit too crazy or something. But this is like what a lot of people like really enjoy, having something new, having something fresh, something that just, you know, like doesn't follow like, you know, the normal rules of a normal build, and you can just have some cool fun, as long as it doesn't deal infinite damage or it goes completely crazy on some height here. You know, this is just a pit 55, so I don't really think there would have been too much harm. And then with this dot removal, it's a similar story to me, like removing this like unique mechanic where you're basically consuming dots and just giving up on the idea just because there was a few problems, you know, with the damage calculation. This is just how it feels. Like, I don't know obviously what happened behind, you know, the scenes, but I just like these kind of unique mechanics, like where you consume your dots, make something interesting rather than just do like a flat percent, you know, physical damage. So I would really like to see, I don't know, like the team or future like season themes being a bit more bold. And the same goes for the class balances, right? We're still most likely playing like the Earthquake Barb, we're still playing the Death Trap Rogue, and many of the like the Bloodwave Necro is just in there for like another 4th season or something. I would just really like to see, you know, more of a meta shakeup in general. And there's might still be hope for the campfire chat here that's going to happen here in just 2 days on Friday. So that's going to be exciting. And we'll see, maybe they'll manage to shake up the meta a little bit. And there is some hope here also with Will Breaker and other cool changes like this. They basically introduce a completely new Horadric jewel here. They look like this. If you don't know, these are the existing ones, and they changed a couple of them to be a bit more balanced. And buffed quite a few of them as well. And they added a completely new one, and I just wish they would do more like this, you know, because this is like a very cool one here, where your physical damage shatters enemy spirits and causes them to basically take more physical damage for 6 seconds. This effect applies when damaging a boss and an elite as well. So if you have a boss or you have some adds with the boss, you also deal another 1.4x. And this can go like really well and be mixed and matched basically. And then we'll see how all this is going to be interacting, like when you're converting your damage into fire, for example, on a Barb. Obviously, Barb is doing a lot of physical damage. This is like a Will Breaker, it's like a physical multiplier. And then we'll see how this will all interact with the ugly bastard helm and the conversion into fire damage and all this kind of stuff. But, you know, that gets me like really, you know, exciting, and I wish they would just do more of this and yeah, not really like, you know, nerfs some of these yeah, fun builds I feel that are really enjoyable. But let me know what you think below. I'm just definitely interested on what you are thinking, and I just like want a wide variety of viable builds. I think new builds should be in A or even in S tier at the minimum to get people excited. And this was the gear here that I used for the clear. But yeah, we'll see what's going to happen. I'm excited for Friday, and there's quite some builds to look forward to. They're also buffing the boots here on the Barb, so you have bigger AoE with all those basic skills. And there sure will be some fun stuff. But I really hope they shake up the meta even more on Friday. And we rather get, you know, into the buff department and actually buff, you know, weak builds rather than, you know, nerfing the fun builds that are not even that crazy. But we'll see what's going to happen. Take it easy, my friends, and I'll see you soon. GG. If you like this video, make sure to subscribe, leave a like or a comment. I'm also live on Twitch almost every day, so come and say hi.